Hey everyone, I'm Jessica Kramer with MRC-TV. This week, the March for Life went to Pennsylvania to host their first state march post Roe v. Wade. So today we're speaking with their president, Jeannie Mancini, about it. Jeannie, it's so good to have you.
Thanks so much for having me.
So after Roe v. Wade got overturned due to the Dobbs v. Jackson decision, the March for Life has a new phase, which is to start the state march program. You guys went to your first state this week. What happened in Pennsylvania, and why was this the first state chosen?
Well, just by way of clarity, we've been in the States for a few years, but now we'll be ratcheting up quite a bit because of the increased freedom at the level of the states. Now, while the federal is still important, the states are all the more important. And so this was our fourth state march this year, and we have another one in just a few weeks. So we were in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for our second annual state march there, and our first post-Dobbs, post-Roe state march, and it was incredible. We really weren't sure what to expect in terms of the tenor of, this conversation and culture right now. But I'll tell you what, pro-life Pennsylvanians could not have been more excited about the possibility of enacting life protective laws for the unborn there. And they wanted to show their pro-abortion governor where they stand on this issue. And we really didn't see too many counter protesters, which was also a great experience.
Yeah, well, we covered the Virginia State March, and I was looking at photos of the Pennsylvania one, and it looked huge.
It was huge. Yeah, Virginia had its special moments this year as well. And many years ago, the very first one, we had like over 7,000 out for it. For whatever reason, this year it was a little smaller, but Pennsylvania was, I'd say, at least 6,000. Last year they had about 5,000. So a lot of it depends on timing and what's been happening. But I can tell you that the grassroots pro-life movement in Pennsylvania is zealous. They are excited about what they're able to do.
Yeah, well, I think it also has to do with the governor too. So if you have a pro-abortion governor, I think a lot of the pro-lifers are really going to come out.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And now in Virginia, of course, we were delighted to welcome Governor Youngkin to actually march with us. And he was the first pro-life governor to ever do a state march with us. So, I mean, really drew a line in the sand by that. So, there's positives and negatives to both. But I think for sure Pennsylvanians aren't happy with their governor currently.
No. Well, another state, California, is trying to codify the right to abortion up until birth this November in Proposition 1. It's now looking like it's going to be more dangerous for the unborn post-Roe than it was pre-Roe in that golden state. Is there a plan to do a march in Sacramento before November?
Well, we were in Sacramento the week that the Dobbs decision came down. So that march was in June. And so we've had the 2022 march in California, and we will do another march in 2023. We're also actively involved in that Prop 1 campaign. So we're doing state marches, and we're also legislatively getting a little bit more active at the level of the state. So I would say taking the collective voice of the marchers to Capitol Hill every day of the year, whether that's at the state Capitol Hill or whether that's the federal Capitol Hill.
Yes. Well, and you guys are continuing your annual march in Washington, D.C. in January. Is the March for Life more interested in working with individual states at this point to push for the most pro-life laws possible, or continuing the movement to push for a federal protection for the unborn? And is there a way to do that both simultaneously with your limited resources?
Great question. We want it all. And listen, our ultimate goal is to make abortion unthinkable. And in order to do that, we have to change hearts and minds. And that's the hardest work. But we will work to change the laws as well. That's easier, actually, than changing hearts and minds. But we'll work at the federal level. We'll work at the state level. So let me give you two quick examples. At the federal level, even to include Hyde Amendment protections, which has been in existence since the late 1970s and arguably is the most powerful and impactful pro-life national policy that we've had, saving well over 2 million unborn lives since it was first enacted. It's enacted every year through the appropriations process. But we have to fight just to preserve Hyde, not to mention other things like fighting against the Women's Health Protection Act, et cetera. So at the federal level, we absolutely need to continue working for the unborn. But as you mentioned, we've got states like California. There's also Michigan, Kentucky. We saw a terrible response to the Kansas ballot initiative. So gosh, there is no lack of work to be done. And so I would encourage all of your viewers who are pro life to pray, to fast, to give to pro life organizations, to respond to whatever call they have to build a culture of life, because it really takes all of us, even in this moment where we're still celebrating the overturn of Roe. We are in a new season and there is no lack of work.
That's for sure. Thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us today. We're excited to see what happens next with your guys' organization.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.